Post-op Laura, coming to you from the editor's chair. I wanted to make a quick comment on this video before it gets started because it's a video that I know has been a process, and it's the video that was originally from that survey like 2 months ago, and I said it was going to be coming out in a few weeks to a month, and it never came out. And then I said, oh, I'll be posting something when I was talking about my book release. I said I'd be posting something soon before the book release, and that ended up not happening. And I'm so sorry for that. I'm glad. I wanted to say thank you for everyone that participated in the survey. I think when I did the video, there was about like 8 people that had participated, and now it's more than that. I haven't looked in a bit. So thank you for participating in that, and thank you for your patience. The video is just about to start, but I have my FFS surgery, which I am going to be making a longer video about. I put out a short, but I'm going to be making a more detailed video on soon. I took video throughout the whole process, none of them doing the surgery, of course, but like my reactions each day, and so I did like a daily vlog there, and so I'm going to be following that survey and doing more vlogs, and this is kind of like to kick it off. That was supposed to happen in October, but it ended up being rescheduled for November, which was when my book was supposed to release. It was supposed to release November 1st, and then that ended up getting pushed back to November 3rd, which happened to be the same day as my surgery date. So like there was a lot of moving pieces all at once, and of course I have kids, I work full time, so wasn't going to be possible to get it out, even though I tried very hard to get it out. There was also a lot of video editing glitches with this video. So again, this is, just basically a catch-up update vlog, as was asked in the survey. And there will be more of those. If you like the video, please do what you do when you like something. Like, subscribe, share, do all 3 if you want. My book has released, and there's a link for it, bookgrowingup.jwtgirl.com. JWT Girl is my website. It's been around for a long time. Most of you have seen the blog that was on it, but I've tried to expand it a little bit so that you can find the book information more easily and anything else you might be looking for pertaining to me. YouTube is telling me that the majority of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. I tend to think that that is one-offs, that there are people that come and find my channel, watch this video, and then, move on and, go watch something else that they've never seen before. So I don't think it's just people returning and not subscribing. However, if you do like this video, I do have others. Check out one of my other videos, see if you like it, and if you do, then please subscribe. Everyone else, check out my book, the link to my book. Like, share, do whatever you do when you like something. Thank you, and thank you for your patience, and without further ado. Okay, so I'm freshly home from work. I put on some fake eyelashes, didn't brush my hair, and went straight into doing a video. And I changed my top. I didn't go to work in this top. This is not the top that I went to work in. So I did a poll, and 8 people ended up responding. Like, I was really not expecting y'all to choose that. I was really not expecting you to choose vlogging. I really thought more people would be interested in, me maybe reviewing books or movies or music. Or, reacting to more people's content, reacting to more of my content, talking about current events, which is something I really want to do. I want to do all of these things. So I guess the thing is, I don't really have to hold to any of these things. I can do what I want when I want, basically, except for right now, because this is going to be my video right before I release the book in November. So this is my last recording, and then the book releases. and you guys will get to read it, and hopefully you guys read it. I don't know if you will read it, but I'm hoping you do. So what's really been going on with me? Okay, there's a few things that I want to touch on. There's three main things that I want to touch on, I guess. And that is family. I just realized that there was like a ton of other things I would like to touch on, but like we're going to keep it to the three. Okay, there's family. This is why I'm going to do it, because I always ramble if I don't do this. So like here, we're going to do bullet points this time. We're not going to let Laura just ramble at the screen for hours like she could. Three main things I want to go over. Family, and I mean like my immediate family, which is different than number two, relationship, my relationship, love, you know. And three, college, which I've alluded to, but I haven't really gone into. So family, I guess we'll start there. And it's going to be short because I do go into this in the book and I don't really want to overdo it. But when it comes to family, one of the things I get asked a lot about is if the person knows I have kids. I get asked a lot about my kids. Well, honestly, you're going to get asked a lot about your kids as a mom. That's like always the case. That's just always going to be how it's going to be. The difference, what I'm saying is like in transgender spaces, or when someone realizes that I'm transgender, I guess. So like on YouTube, it's a common question. And I think that's, you know, one of the videos that's brought up a lot is the transitioning for 3 video. There was that video and people remember it. And I got just the other day, I got asked about that video and asked about the kids. And it seems like every time I talk to someone, it is a question about the kids and how things go. Because before the transitioning for 3 video, I didn't ever really explain a whole lot about what was going on. But I had I'm sorry, I've stopped or something like that. There was a video about how I was going to stop YouTube and I couldn't do anymore. And it was because I was going through this custody thing back in 2014, 2015. And like I said, there's bits and pieces of all of that in the book, a lot more than I've ever shared. So I guess, for big details, for understanding everything that happened, there's more of that in the book. But when it comes to my current state with the kids, I'm just going to say, I won custody of my kids a couple years ago. And so that was really great. Very, it was an amazing feeling after everything that I had been through. I ended up with full custody, so I make all decisions, basically all major decisions are made by me. And so that's been a wonderful thing in my life to keep me from having to react constantly, because that's been my thing for so long, is I am just constantly reacting. And when I did decide to go to court, it's not the type of decision where you want to do it. It was forced. I felt forced to do it. And honestly, being trans and knowing the history, I'm scared. I'm always scared to move forward unless it is so bad that it needs to happen. Honestly, it broke down, it devolved, and too much to explain really right here. But we went to custody once and we were able to figure out 50-50 custody through that. And then eventually, when the pandemic came, my ex went back to the Jehovah's Witnesses. which completely shocked me, completely shocked the kids. The kids were not raised Jehovah's Witnesses. So the expectations she was trying to throw in her house were ridiculous. And it ultimately came down to my daughter needed some medical work done. There was a possibility she needed a blood transfusion. And at that point, I knew that I had to step in and I needed to do something to get the courts involved, at least, and be very careful. Because I know that Jehovah's Witnesses, get together and they try to make things look however they want. So, I was very careful about documenting and recording. There was 2 separate instances where my daughter needed medical work, where she might have needed a blood transfusion, and it became an issue. And I recorded that. It became a thing during court, and just eventually I won custody. I've already gone so far into this situation. It is so much. So I'm going to go into the next point. I've got custody of my kids. I've got, them going to the school in my area. It's nice to be in that element of control where you actually have, you have the say of where they're going to be going to school and where, what's best for them. And you are actually making sure that those things happen. That's amazing. Especially as a trans person. I don't think that there's a lot of trans women that get to experience that, especially if they're single. I think that there's trans women that adopt. I think that there's trans women that maybe marry, someone else who has kids, or, get to see their kids, 50-50 time or something like that. Decent times. But I think that there's very, very few single trans women who have full custody of their children. And huge win for the kids, to be honest. And just an amazing thing for a trans person all around. And so leading into the next point, what is my current relationship? What's currently going on? Well, I have a boyfriend. He is probably one of the best guys I've ever dated. He's really sweet, and I can depend on him. He's always there. And so, I don't want to make this a big thing. I've learned not to talk a whole lot about relationships online. I mean, I came out with my engagement online, I think a couple years ago, and then immediately got embarrassed over it because of what happened with him, which I've gone into in the past. But this guy, I mean, I know we've been dating for about 2 years now, and I feel like he's really something. I really feel like it's gonna be real with him. I feel really good about it. But as far as we do talk about marriage, and we do talk about next steps, and we're both kind of in this place in our lives where we've got other things going on, and so marriage isn't the most grabbable thing. The most tangible thing. It's not within our grasp, but I think as much as we might want it to be, because we each have our own situations going on. He does have his own kids, and but I think we're slowly working there, and it's been really wonderful to have him in my life. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with him. He's a good guy. So there's really not a whole lot more to say there. Just that I'm happy with my relationship. Don't be coming to me asking if we could date or anything like that. That was a common thing in the past, and definitely, although I like the comments, I like the compliments. I will always take those. I love your love. all of the wonderful, nice comments and things. Thank you to everyone over the years for that. But yeah, definitely I'm spoken for. And then finally, so number 3, college. And so what I want to say here is that I've turned my back on this lifetime goal, basically. I've always valued technology and engineering, always pursued engineering and technology. But very recently, I've turned my back on all of it. Yeah. About a year ago, I put the college part of it on pause. I had to because of the whole custody thing that I was going through. I actually ended up using some of my college loans to pay for my lawyer at the time. I ended up with an incomplete in one of my classes, one that I actually really loved, so it really sucked. And that incomplete eventually turned into an F because that's what happens when you don't get back to it fast enough. And I wasn't, like, I had too much other things going on. So, yeah, like, it screwed with my GPA, screwed with a lot of things for me. But, you know, I'd worked on this for years. Like, I'd been for like a decade, like since leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, like I'd wanted to become an engineer or a computer scientist, something along those lines. And like during my first custody, fight with my ex, when we first divorced, I had to put that aside, and I had a lot of math, so I took accounting courses and quickly became an accountant. That's what I'm still doing, is working as an accountant. And so I took all the engineering training and just kind of put it on the back burner. I had about a year and a half of it, and then used the rest of my time in my associate's degree to work on accounting classes and business classes, which I hated. I knew if I stayed with engineering, it'd still be a long time before I found a decent job. So I made that sacrifice. I went to accounting and I took all my math courses and math experience, and it did help in those courses, and that's what I did. I focused on those, and it helped. And then, eventually I kept on talking about going back to it over the years. As here and there I was able to get back, but then finally over the pandemic, just before the pandemic, I'd started going back to college for electrical engineering and computer science, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I ended up going with computer science, and I worked really hard on that. I have like about a year left to finish the degree. So bachelor's degree almost done, not too much longer. But then everything fell out the bottom while I was, going through that. And, but I've consistently throughout this past decade have been trying to get into STEM, basically trying to, very interested in engineering, technology, computer science. And so I find it very interesting now that suddenly I just don't care. Like, I've lost all ambition for it. I think what I've come up with is, like, subconsciously, I've just turned my back on it. There's a lot of reasons why. I was fed up, obviously. Various reasons mixed together and became kind of like the cement that created this barrier in me, where I just don't want to return at this point. I'm totally apathetic to it. It's really bizarre because it was such a motivation for so long. I talked about it for so long. And now I have these skills and I have the knowledge, but I use those things that I've learned on so much less of a scale. I mean, I use them, but I use them on so much less of a scale than I would. Like, I create like apps and things like that so I can do my accounting work and things like that here and there. Like, I do use it, but I don't use it that much, right? Not anywhere near the amount where I should be practicing and keeping up with it. Than if I had completed the degree, basically. I understand those things. I understand the field, but I just don't care anymore. I basically find myself bordering on nihilistic towards the fields, towards engineering and innovation. Just totally a nihilist when it comes to those things. And I just think it's funny. Like, I'm not sad, you know. I think I say these things and people think it's sad or could think that I'm sad or something like that, or depressed. I'm like apathetic. Like, I think it's funny that I've, done this about face suddenly after spending so much time and wanting it so badly for so long. And so I've come down to 5 reasons why this happened, why I am just totally apathetic. And the first boils down to ethics. A lot of people are familiar with, social media and how bad it is for you and the type of manipulation and control that comes from these companies like Facebook and Twitter to keep you engaged, basically. That was a big thing. Uncovering that during the pandemic, I think, was a big thing. So, I mean, I have concerns over that, but it's not even just over that, but also about AI, about automation in general, social media. Basically, what I'm going to call putrid prioritization of usability for topically regressive internet denizens. And so basically what I'm talking about there is the user. The user is the main, like when you're in computer science especially, it's the main goal. Make things easier for the user. Make your program easier for the user. Make, finding the information, the entertainment, the ad that they want, the product that they want easier for the user. And you can see where I'm going with this is that, like, what ends up happening here, beyond all the social manipulation and ethics there's larger macro issues that come into play here when you think about it. Because, like, if we are focusing on making something easy for the user, like, there's no other technology that's been around where it was invented and then you're constantly making technology to make it easier to use that technology, basically. Like, only computers is it like that. Most other technology requires a learning curve to use it. You can't automate. I mean, now you can. You can automate everything. Anything that you can't do on a certain thing, you can now automate it so that to make the parts that are hard easier, and that the things that you have to remember, now you don't have to remember them, and now it's brain dead work for pretty much everything. But that's not good. That gives power to a very few people who are doing the programming, and everyone else just is becomes a thoughtless moron. At least is how I view it. Like, it's really upsetting, and I think bad for society for this to go on like this. I don't think that everybody deserves to be able to have a platform on the internet. I'm sorry, but I don't think that that's okay. I'm not saying I deserve to have a platform either, but I do think that people who I do think that the internet should have a learning curve. I think that it was fine for it to have a learning curve. I think the fact that, it's now so easy to just hop on and have your own account on social media where people can find you and you can influence people is really the main issue as to why things have gotten so crazy. Because, like, you have no idea how to use that technology, really. Like, if it weren't for program after program after program being written, script after script after script being written to make it easier for you to put yourself on the internet, without you doing anything, like, then it wouldn't happen. And I think that's the issue. I mean, it causes all sorts of issues, from, the manipulation you see in social media to, jobs being stolen, to creativity, art, stealing, AI stealing, art from artists, basically. Like, all of these things. Like, if you make yourself worthless, then you're worthless. Like, like, if you don't focus on something, like, if all you're doing is using something where the technology is giving you all the power, and all you're doing is posting a picture of yourself without actually truly earning what's going on, then, you're giving them your power. You're just giving it away. But there's no turning back. And that's the sad thing. So we're now a virtual culture, and, we're just going to have to wait for the next virtual thing to make things, to even the playing field again, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that bothered me. So it bothered me so much that it's a big reason why I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't want to be involved in that. I just don't. Number 2, elitist and sexist barriers to entry. The industry is very elitist, especially in computer science. Oh my goodness. Computer science and engineering. Like, I don't know how many engineers you know. And it's not that... There's always been barriers to entry for engineering. In fact, it was something that was often complained about years ago. But those barriers to entry were a little bit different. Like, those barriers to entry were being able to do well at math and science. I don't know. I think that those barriers are still pretty much there. I do think that there's a lot of leniency given to not being able, being more project management oriented instead of actually being able to do the math and actually being able to innovate. I will say that, the barriers to entry are no longer mostly, at least they don't feel like they're mostly math and science. It's mostly like financial. Like, I had a great GPA. Great GPA. And, I couldn't get any help with finances and staying in school. Like, especially when shit hit the fan. And I had several friends who were engineers or computer scientists that, really didn't seem to give a crap when I started going through things. Like, they started to look down on me for having these issues because, I was a single mom and, you know, had kids. And, you know, so I think, you know, between that, I think you see that a lot. You see just this feeling like if you're not part of the country club mindset, then you're not really welcome. I definitely feel that in engineering, especially as an older person. Like, I think you can get away with it maybe a little bit more as a younger person, but especially as an older person, in my 30s. So very elitist. And if you look at the industry as far as like trying to break in, again, very elitist. Trying to network is very difficult because you have to be on their level. You have to look and play the part of an elitist, basically. So elitist and then sexist. Okay, and I say sexist. I think that there's a lot of women in engineering, but I still think it is mostly a man's club. There was so much more men in my class, even though there was a lot more women than I expected. I think that's a Portland State thing. They make a pretty big push for that. But still, like, mostly men. And also at the same time, like, once you're out of that college setting, you know, you hear about these boot camps and things like that for like coding and things like that. And I found that it seems like guys a lot of the times are able to get hired through things like that without having a full college degree, without even having like a certificate or anything like that. Like, if they just have the experience and they prove it and they get in. I do know that there's probably women out there where they make it through, but I do think it's far less. I think there's far less women in the industry, and of those women that are in the industry, I think it's far less likely that they receive a position through experience alone rather than going through the proper channels of college and boot camps and certifications. Okay, so elitist and sexist barriers to entry. That was my second reason. The third reason, abundance of grifts in the industry. Especially concerning when this industry purports to value sustainability. There's a definite stagnation of innovation in this industry. I mean, you can see it. There's really not a whole lot new that's coming out anymore. It's just a colorful rewrappings of old models and updates to things. There really isn't a whole lot new that's coming out anymore. Whether it's, you know, I think computer graphics maybe has just gone through a leap. I think maybe hardware and semiconductors is, still progressing. But when it comes to like, you know, cell phones and the actual products that we get, there's not really much difference from year to year in what's going on. And it's not like it was before where you'd have like these breakthrough technologies coming through like every few months or, you know, every year. And so, yeah, it's a grift. It's a grift not only in like the actual product making, but like even here on YouTube, like that's a common word is grift on YouTube. And the whole industry has allowed for this sort of thing of just like remaking yourself or remaking your product, capitalism to the nth degree every, you know, month, basically. And that makes me apathetic. Not to mention that I think it's bad for society. I think capitalism in general is, you know, at least late stage capitalism is awful for society. I think that it's a big problem, but like, yeah, at the very least, it makes me apathetic. Like, I'm just not interested in it. Number 4, emotional alienation stemming from all the previous points I just discussed. So really, it's just me emotionally dealing with all of this that I've already just discussed, and the fact that there's, big names in the industry that are, fallen idols. I mean, when I first wanted to become an engineer, I loved Elon Musk. I thought he was great, and I, thought it was wonderful how he was, revolutionizing the car industry, by, making it marketable, and that he just seemed to do whatever needed to be done in order to move Tesla forward, because we needed to, green energy, because climate change, and it needed to be done. Come to find out, he's not at all like that. He's no Iron Man, no superhero. He is just, a greedy bastard that hates trans people, apparently. And just awful. So, yeah, just alienation from heroes, basically, long term. I mean, there's others. Number 5, burnout. Personal circumstances and burnout. And that's really obvious. Like, from the stuff I've already told you, I'm sure you can understand why I've experienced burnout. And so those things together, putrid, elitist and sexist barriers to entry, abundance of grifts in the industry, emotional alienation, and personal circumstances and burnout. Those 5 reasons are the reasons why I just don't care about technology and engineering anymore. Just completely don't care. Just, I don't know. Like, it used to be there. I mean, because I was going after it. I wanted this to be part of my life. I wanted this to be my career for so long. And I would get sad that I was so far away from it. Just a few years ago, like maybe 3 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. I'd get emotional because of that. But at this point, like, it could be just length of time, but also, like, I think it's not just that. I think it's everything that I've learned and everything that I've seen recently. Like, I think it would alienate anybody. Like, whether you had a desire for it or not. And I just think it's funny. Like, it's not a sadness now. It's just funny. It's funny that this has happened like this, and that here we are. That's where I'm at with college and my feelings on STEM and completing my my computer science degree. Not interested. Just maybe eventually I will be again, but just totally burnt out from it, totally apathetic to it. Amazing after all the years I spent, diving after it to be going through that. So I hope you enjoyed my little vlog and reaction and spending some time with me. Like the video, subscribe, do what you do when you like something. But make sure I know about it. Leave your comments. Thanks for visiting. I really appreciate you being here. Always love you guys. Mwah.